Hi, this is Andrea Fabian, and this is my final project in designing and developing interactive e-learning courses. In this final project, I've used game design to develop a lesson specifically to teach new students entering college about the various services available to them at Cambrian College, specifically those around that are offered at the Learning Center and the Glen Crombie Center. So I've taken that is my learning objective, and the students who I anticipate who would use this would be new students. So typically of the age of 18, 19, maybe even younger nowadays, and some of these students might have a disability and some might not. But keeping with the designing for to be accessible, to make learning accessible to as many students as possible. In the first slide of this lesson, I ask students to decide if they'd like to use to continue with this course using a mouse or using a keyboard. Some students have a preference for one or the other. As I go through this lesson, I'm going to be looking off to my left as my screen is displaying the course over here to my left, so you'll have to forgive me for looking away from the camera. So on the first slide, I'm setting up the scene. You can see that there's a mountain, that there's a person on the mountain, and he's climbing up towards a wizard who's guarding a kingdom. In the top left corner, you see a series of navigation links, and these stay present throughout the course with the goal of keeping navigation as simple and seamless as possible. The last thing I'm going to do is have students stumble over moving through this lesson due to complicated navigation. So in the top left corner, we have the player's name. Points are calculated and displayed nice and largely. We have the number of steps to get to the wizard, a link to click on rewards, and the option to quit at any time. So the first slide sets up the scene, and I try to do this in as brief a way as possible. It's quite important to not make this very lengthy, to not make the scenarios very complicated, to try to keep the learner excited about this challenge and moving forward and to the point of completing learning objectives. So the first question is, do you know about the range of services offered at Cambrian College? Prove yourself by taking the Cambrian Wizard Challenge. So a student would then click Start with Mouse or Start with Keyboard. Let's say I click Start with Mouse. I'll be moved down to the next slide. Actually, both, regardless if you start with a mouse or a keyboard, you should be taken to the same type of slide, just designed behind the scenes with different types of triggers. On the next slide, you're prompted to create a profile. Enter your first and last name and upload a profile pic, and I'll explain why the profile pic is useful later on when we at the end of this this walkthrough. The next slide it talks about sets up the scene a little bit more. So to reach the ancient kingdom of Cambrian and take over as wizard, you must show that you are as wise as he is. Do you accept this challenge? So this really kind of is used to rope the students in and encourage them to stay committed to this challenge. So I've used the words I accept. So if they click on I accept, they're taken to the next slide, which continues the setting up of the scene. People will come to you with their problems. You must correctly advise them who to speak to in order to progress up the mountain. But whatever you do, don't upset the wizard. So there's a little bit of a warning, which also might keep them keep them engaged, keep them curious, and adds a little bit of fun. So if I click next, it says to move up the mountain, click on the correct service to best help each student. So this is the point where we're tying in the fact that, we're talking about Cambrian College services, and this is how you're going to complete, to get to the wizard at the top of the mountain. At the bottom of the screen, I've taken the services that are offered at Cambrian, which are divided into two main centers, the Learning Center and the Glen Crombie Center. And you can see that there are a number of different types of advisors that the learner could send a student to. If I click next, I begin with student number 1. Student number 1 tells their story. Their story is an academic problem. It could be an academic problem, a personal problem. As we move through this course, the challenges that are presented to the learner get a little bit trickier, a little harder. Each time they have to click on one of these advisors at the bottom of the screen in order to send that student to the correct advisor. So this is reinforcing what advisors are available at the college and hopefully encouraging these new students to seek out help should they need it at some point in their college career. And by doing this over and over, the goal is that I'm cementing this knowledge in their head. Once they click on one of the advisors to send the student to, if they chose correctly, they'll be presented with this screen. You can see in the top left corner, points were added, so now they have 100 points. The steps to the wizard are now 9. Visually, I've tried to keep it simple, so I'm using a green arrow to show positive movement upwards. The wizard flies over and says, you chose wisely and earned cookies to help you along the way. The student can then click next to move along. However, if they chose incorrectly, then the wizard flies out and says, you chose poorly. This student needs to visit the study skills coach, for example. So there's some reminding as well as, ideally if a student makes a mistake, we want to sort of help them to learn in this moment as well. So you can see visually it's very clear. The wizard has shot a lightning bolt at the little man on the mountain. He's turned red and he flies backwards, and you can see he's lost 100 points. Okay. So at any time in this game, the student can click rewards to see the rewards that they have. In this case, so when they do, they're presented with this message: select a reward and click redeem to maintain your place on the mountain. Each time you redeem an item, you lose 100 points. So this student has accumulated a walking stick, cookies, and a headlamp. If they click on any one of those, they can then click redeem, and they can maintain their position on the mountain instead of falling back. If they get to a point where they are just before falling off the mountain, and they make an incorrect selection, then the wizard flies out again and says, you have 0 points and cannot continue up the mountain. And then the student has the option to click again, try again. You can also see that the points in the top left corner are now 0. If the learner gets up the mountain and reaches the wizard, the message will appear saying, congratulations, you have shown great wisdom. You have earned the position of Wizard of the Kingdom of Cambrian. And they're encouraged to click certificate to view their certificate. And this is when their profile picture is the most necessary, as it's blended with Gandalf. The certificate is detailed in that it's a certificate of completion. It states who it's issued by. So in this case, the Learning Center. It is a Learning Center orientation module issued by the Learning Center on behalf of Cambrian College. It's awarded to and then the student's name. It also describes what has been accomplished. In this case, this certificate indicates excellent knowledge of academic and learning services at Cambrian College, and it states the date and location and a signature of the director of the Learning Center. So all of the certificate is designed to, reward and make the student feel that they've accomplished something at the end of this learning.